everybody. Welcome back. Spring forward, fall back. It's daylight saving, so it's 9 p.m.-ish. Oh, 8 p.m.-ish? I think it's 8 p.m.-ish. Someone correct me. It's 8 p.m.-ish Thursday night. It's Gaming Enforcement Agency on Geek, Aloud. Unky Dunky, you're in the second slot, so welcome.
Mate, I am here, but I've got some news for you, mate. It's actually 7 p.m. We haven't hit daylight savings yet, mate. So hopefully everyone's out there listening because we're going live for the first time before 8 o'clock. We are not only on time, but we are early for once.
Does this rack up against all the times we were late? Can we start crossing off all the late ones now?
I think so. I think we only owe it to our viewership that we only, make up some time that we've lost over the years.
Excellent. And, of course, bringing us in the third slot, holding the tower of people above him. Bully, how are you this evening, my friend?
I'm very good. I think what you've done is actually taken your New Year's resolution of being ready at 8 o'clock to the absolute extreme. And you brought us forward about 50 minutes. So
Happy New Year, everyone.
We'll see how many people that throws off.
Tagaro, you've missed it again, mate. Pastries have already happened. What should I do? Probably start the show. How about that for an idea? Let me tell all you fine folks at home how this show is meant to go when it's on schedule and running properly. First up, we have games, interrogation, and deliberation. What do we got this evening? 8. That's right. 8 games that we've gone hand. Well, 7 games, 1 TV show. It's all video game related, though. 8 of them, 8 of the finest. And then we have a very, very special video in from Ace, and it's going to appear on TikTok after the show. But then we're going into the news studio. Unky Dunky, how many stories in that there news studio this evening?
Well, you have 7 this evening, Troy.
8, 7, and then it's off to the standoff. Is there 6 entrants in the standoff by chance?
No, we've got the usual 10 in there today, and we are looking at, with The Last of Us HBO finishing this week and cementing Joel and Ellie's friendship, we're going to look at what is another great gaming friendship, and there's 10 to choose from. Sound off in the chat there, let us know your favourite friendships in games and see if they match any of ours.
Beautiful work, and then as Tagaro likes to do, he likes to be interrogated in that 4th segment. So, Bully, sir, can you please patrol that YouTube chat for us all evening, flick up any relevant comments, and then if we happen to miss any, we'll round them up at the end. How does that sound, my friend? Oh, I think Bully's mute.
Bully's muted.
I was just going to say,
I'm just going to jump in and say, Bully, that is why you're in the 3rd slot, mate. Stuff like that.
Just shooting down. Watch out, Bully. That ceiling might collapse any minute.
Yeah, well, I can say I'll graciously offer it up for you today because we got it reversed about. That'll be the last time. Good luck.
I love it. Perfect. So, YouTube, are you happy? Bully, are you happy to patrol the YouTube chat is what I'm trying to say.
I certainly am. Hopefully, as I was about to say before I unmuted myself, hopefully we've got a few notifications up for all the listeners. This is probably good, or the viewers, this is probably a good reminder just to have those notifications sitting as well, just so that you know when we do go live each week, if it is a bit late or a bit early, as in this case.
Oh, we've never been late, mate. Always. Anyone buying that? No? All right, then let's move on. Games, interrogation, and deliberation. Oh, first up, it's the HBO's finale of The Last of Us Part 1. Unky Dunky, over to you.
Oh, mate, just like painting a giraffe. It was a tall task, but I think they nailed it. There's just, from the start of the show, mate, like, to get Ashley Johnson, who, got to give her an applause. She's now brought Ellie to life twice. Both in the game and in the TV show. So,
can I tell you, that bit of script writing and casting, honestly, tears rolled. I couldn't believe they let Ashley Johnson give birth to Ellie in such a fashion. That was phenomenal. I absolutely loved it. Sorry, mate, back to you.
Oh, mate, it was weird because when she was running through the house, even just her exclamations and puffing and breathing just sounded like Ellie from the game. So
yeah.
It was weird. So obviously, Ashley Johnson's voice is Ellie. She's not putting on kind of voice, and just hearing her do that.
But her mannerisms and everything.
Yeah. Everything about it, just having her be the one that gives birth to Ellie in the show and having that
perfect
tie into the game was just, I think, a perfect way to start it. Sort of cemented what everyone thought about how Ellie does have immunity to the virus.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go for it.
Is that the first time they've ever explained why Ellie was immune? Because I loved it. I thought it was a perfect explanation, but maybe I wasn't paying attention, but I felt like that was the first time they'd ever addressed it.
No, I believe so. I think there was always rumors about how it would have happened, and everyone sort of, because there's been stuff. I mean, there was artwork, I think, in Uncharted 4 about a pregnant lady there, and that was sort of rumors that was Anna being Ellie's mum, and, the fact that they showed this person, that everyone sort of always speculated that was Ellie's mum, and she was probably bitten. So they've kind of put that to rest. They've obviously gone with that side of the story, which I'm
nailed it.
with. I like the whole, Marlene walks in and she's like, I cut it before I was bit. And, Marlene's not believing it for a second, but obviously, what's a little baby clicker going to do to you? Let's give it a test.
I don't know, but I saw what a 7-year-old clicker did to you in episode 4, and boy, I don't want to meet her.
No, true. You get a few years before they think grows teeth anyway, so, or mushroom spores, whatever. So it's obviously turned out all right in the end. But no, just one episode. I mean, it was the shortest episode, which I think we mentioned last week that it was going to be around 45 minutes, but they crammed a lot in. They left a fair bit from the game out, which I don't think you necessarily needed in there. Yeah, it's cool to see watch them going through tunnels and taking out clickers and bloaters and all that kind of stuff. But I don't think this show's sort of been centered around the zombies. I think this show is living and breathing because it is more than just a zombie show. It's more about The Last of Us, which is about the people left behind. It's not about the zombies. Yeah, the zombies are there. They are a threat. But they're more of a threat than, say, in the game where you're killing, hundreds of them. Just one zombie in this world is going to cause you a lot of pain, as they showed with the Left Behind episode, where it was just one that took them on there. There was one zombie or clicker or whatever you want to call it, runner, that took out Ellie's mum in this episode, and that was scary. The only time we've seen a lot of enemies on screen at once was, I think, episode 5, where the bloater came out and they poured out of the ground to show what they can do in numbers. So,
point of order was the house. And semi-tiny spoilers for The Last of Us 2 here, but nothing major. Is the house that Ellie Johnson gives birth to Ellie in the house from number 2, from part 2 of the game?
I don't know, but I had the exact same thought. As soon as I saw that, I'm like, that looks like the exact same house.
Yeah.
The same field as that house. So,
yeah.
I'm not sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do tie that back into when mild spoilers.
How epic is that for a bloody story looping back on itself? I thought that was...
So I think same thing where they did with Jackson, that episode where they sort of brought that sort of in earlier. I think this is potentially the exact same thing they're doing there. They're setting up that as that tie to her mum going back to that house. So I definitely think that is something that it didn't look that similar for no reason at all.
Yeah, I'm instantly like, main menu of number 2.
Yeah, and now you mentioned like stuff that's got you teary. The thing that got me this episode, which I think was expanded upon in the game, was when Joel was talking about the person that missed was him, about shooting himself.
Oh, yes.
But it wasn't that part per se. It was the bit where Ellie comes out and says, I guess time heals all wounds, and he just sort of gives her a look as if to say no, and says it wasn't time that did that. That's what got me in this episode in terms of the emotion and stuff. But I think just the nods to the game, the whole like giving Ellie a boost and with the ladder up on the thing before the giraffe scene, which again was magical there, and the scenery was just almost identical from the game. I just love this episode. I love the way it finished. What are your guys' top-level opinions of, not this episode, but as the bookend of the whole show?
I'm going to interlude briefly and then hand it over to you for the main run, Bully, but I just quickly want to say I called it last week, the Darth Vader down the corridor explosive march. It was a thing of beauty. They almost pulled it off. I'll draw out on that thread a bit later, but my absolute favourite bit was Joel cutting sick at the end. But over to you, Bully, for your thoughts.
He's muted
Bully,
again.
Mute.
I was just going to say while we're watching the footage in the background that I did, Neil Druckmann, if you need some cinematography help for season 2, just follow what you've got on there, and I'm available.
Bully's available.
Just let me know
on Twitter, isn't it? At Geek Aloud. At
Geek Aloud, or have your people get in touch with my people, and we'll go from there.
Do lunch.
I think you've covered it pretty well, Unky. I think. I agree with you. You don't need the hordes of the clickers and the bloaters and all that sort of stuff coming into it, because that's not how they've structured the whole season 1. It's been about, exactly as you said, the development of Ellie and Joel mainly, but then some of the periphery characters around it and how they've sort of engaged and all that sort of stuff. And that's really where the draw card for me has been, because we've all, all 3 of us have played through both of the games, and we've had that action sequences. But I've said it numerous times, is what I've really enjoyed is the parts that weren't necessarily in any of the games. It's sort of fleshed out that backstory, and you've had things that weren't even related to the game. But then, as you said, this is just giving you a few little extra nuggets as you're going through, like when you talk about when Joel's tried to shoot himself and finding out how Ellie was born, and in effect how she became to be immune. So it's all those little sort of nuggets that for me have made the whole season really enjoyable above and beyond. Because they could have quite easily just gone with a Walking Dead style trope and had a bit of a story, and just every episode they're fighting off hordes, and then restart.
So they could have made the Halo TV show.
Well, I will say I do like Pedro Pascal, but I don't like him enough to see his bare backside running on the screen. So Master Chief style. But yeah, really, I've really enjoyed this season. I can't wait for season 2.
To roll around. It's a news item later.
Yes. So it's actually funny because I was thinking about it today. I replayed through The Last of Us Part 1 about 2 weeks before the series started, and I think I'll go back and do the same thing again. Is a week or two before the next series starts, I'll run back, and it just adds that extra layer of, oh yeah, that was in the game, or that was missing, or
I reckon it might be,
and stuff like that.
I reckon it might be a great time now, or next Monday night, maybe at 8 p.m. Go straight into your replaying of Part 2. Like, just pick the story up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I suppose that's maybe why it was a bit more special for me, is because it was recently fresh in your mind, with only in a week or two that you knew exactly what was happening, or what should have been happening if you were working through the game, as transposed over to the show. So I think I'll probably, as much as I sort of want to get back into it, I'd probably leave it until, like I said, a week or two out, just so you can draw from that stuff. And Unky's probably the best of it because he knows the game inside out and back to front. But just the little Easter eggs that he picks up watching the show, having such a knowledge of the game, I think that, and you could probably speak to it better, Unky, that it probably adds, like, for your enjoyment of the show more than someone who's either never played the game or doesn't have a really good, thorough understanding of the lore and the backstory and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it does. I think you do pick up a lot of stuff that's in there, especially some of the dialogue as well. You sort of notice the intricacies. You notice where it's the same. You notice where they've added a little bit more sort of context and stuff as well. And it does bring a little bit more to it. Like, I don't want to hear the exact same thing as the game. I've played that, 4 or 5 times. I've platinumed Last of Us Part 2, but it's been a little while. So by the time Season 2 comes up, I reckon I'm due for another playthrough of that game as well. But just speaking on the dialogue and stuff, I think towards the end of the game, they kept it very much the same. Like, the whole scene with Marlene was shot exactly the same. They didn't play with any other. I really liked the way they did the whole take her away, then show the flashback to when he shoots her. I think they did that perfectly. And then the walking and seeing Jackson and Ellie telling her story about Riley to him and asking him to lie, and the way they did that cut to black, just exactly like the game. So it makes me excited to think that the experience I had playing that game for the first time with that black cutout, a lot of people that haven't played the game are now getting that exact same experience with the show. It's just, it makes, it makes me tingle a little bit just to think that everyone's getting this experience, because I've spoken to a lot of people that, haven't played the game and are really enjoying the show. I've been hanging on, waiting for every episode. Just the fact that they now don't know where that's going and where Last of Us Part 2 is going to go, or Season 2 is going to go. Poor buggers, they're in for a shock. But, no, it's very exciting. And this was, I think, everyone was worried about a 45-minute runtime. I think they did everything they needed to do in this last episode without it bloating out. Again, didn't need a lot of clickers, just needed those character moments. I know Troy wanted to speak a little bit more about that.
Yes, please.
The scene at the end with the fighting stuff, for me, I really enjoyed it. I think it's, with the music playing over the background, may have taken out some of the grittiness in his kills, but I did enjoy the small nod that I liked was the fact that he picked up that assault rifle like he does in the end of that game, because that's the first time you actually grab that assault rifle, where he upgrades it from his other one. So I thought that was a nice little nod as well. But it did show, this guy, he's at that point now where he's going to do anything for this girl. He doesn't care if people are running away or standing still or surrendering. He's just killing him. And the doctor at the end, where there's no time to even talk to him at all. He just pops him straight in the head.
Sorry, Billy, I think you need to mute your monitor maybe, or we're getting slapped back. Although you fix it now. Good work. Am I wrong, or did he kill spoilers for the end of the TV show, but I'm assuming you've watched it if you're listening to us talk right now. The two nurses at the table, didn't he kill everyone?
You
Is it
didn't have to
new?
kill them. No, so
Oh,
you
so
can.
that was me that killed them.
Yeah, so you can walk out.
I killed everyone.
You have to kill you have to kill the doctor, but you don't have to kill the nurses. And just a fun little,
I killed everyone.
yeah, fun little fact though. The one of the doctors or the nurses, the closest female to us, is actually played by Laura Bailey, who, as you know, is very well known in the game voice sphere, and she is actually the one that voices Abby in the game 2. So yeah, it's not a little nugget there. Hard to tell when she's wearing the mask over her face, but another nice little cameo for the game characters.
Nice work. Now, the last thing I've got to say is I'm going to tear into that scene at the end. So does anyone, before I get all sour on it, does anyone want to say any end of the high praises before I shift gears?
No, go for it.
Bully, have you got any final positive thoughts before I take a big dump on their lunch?
It depends. Depends whether it's creamy or sloppy, and we'll go from there, I guess.
So here's the problem. They shot it at a high frame rate, and then they slowed it down to 25 frames a second to give it that film look. And then they went and did slow-mo, like slightly slow-mode of Joel's kills. They slowed them down a bit, but they didn't go back to the original source material that I would argue was shot at 60 frames a second. They slowed it down because obviously the whole thing was shot at 60. Then they've slowed it down to 25 to give the whole series a TV look. But then they went and they slowed down the 25 frames further, and it makes it look steppy. It's got that steppy look in it from but they didn't have to do the steppy look. They've got the original 60 frames a second, so they could have done silky smooth, and those kills would have looked 10 times better. My production eye jumped out of my head at that moment, and it just soured the end. And I love that scene. You guys know I was looking forward to it. The big Darth Vader laying the place to waste. I was so hyped for that moment, and then they just screwed it in the edit suite. So tisk to the editor for not doing your job properly. But that's it for me. Other than that, I love the show. TV show of the year. If it was a video game, I'd declare it game of the year already. What about you fellas? Any final thoughts for the whole series?
No, this takes the cake as easily as the best video game adaptation into another media, whether it be movies or TV. I think this easily takes the cake, and I cannot wait to see what they do with season 2 now.
Hell yeah, sign me up. And Bully, when they consult you for the cinematography, just have a word to the editor for me.
Well, no worries. Or maybe I'll just take over his job as well then.
Perfect. You can consult with me then. I'll be all about it. All right, guys, let's move on to you, Bully, for an update in Horizon. Call of the Mountain. But hold on, yes. That's my footage. Go, Bully.
When did you capture that, Troy?
Yesterday.
Very good. So I've played a bit. I think up until probably mid last week, I'd probably put about 2 to 3 hours into it. And as it turned out, stopped just before you started fighting some of the bigger Dinobots and creatures and that sort of stuff. So I was sort of getting a bit annoyed with just the constant climbing, which is the bulk of the first couple of hours, and along with a couple of other, sort of tutorial sort of stuff. Jump back into it again this week, and I think within the first couple of hours, so what would be about 4 to 5 hours into the game, I've fought the Thunderjaw, I've fought the Glinthawks, and I've fought the Bellowback. Is that the big one?
There ain't no Bellowback girl?
I'll give you that.
Okay. And it's like playing them or fighting them in VR is it's an unreal experience. So you can move freely. You're basically on a set of rails and rotating around the center or the outside of the arena that you're fighting those creatures in. So you can dodge their attacks. You can move around. They sort of move within that circle at different points. And anyone that's played the normal Horizon games, you'll know that you can either...
I refer to those people as peasants.
Well, you've had it for one day, and the king's looking down on on the scoundrels beneath him.
How is he in the second slot, Bully? With the two of us being the only two owners of PSVR, he's lucky to be on screen at all.
Well, you've called me the whale all this time. Look at you. Look at you two. Just fucking nom, 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 nom. Just taking out second mortgages, ruining your relationships with your wife. It's probably worth it. Well, I'm still jealous.
Well, the bonus, if there's ever any issues, I can just put the headset on and pretend I'm somewhere else. So, bonus. But in terms of the game, so if you play if you're a peasant and you've only got to play the original ones, you'll know that the best way to attack the beasts is to basically strip them of their armor, or some of them will have, like the Bellowback will have the big, essentially a gas canister on his back. So if you can shoot that off, it does, or destroy it, it does massive damage. So it's exactly the same situation here, where you can target those sort of things as you're rotating around the screen, and depending on the creature's movement as you're doing that as well, and how it's moving around that circle, you can get around and use different perspectives and stuff to either target the back or the underside or whatever it is. And it's like, I was enjoying Horizon to a point, but when you get up to fighting those creatures, I reckon it goes to a whole new level. I don't know, Troy, whether you've got up to any of those yet with...
No, you're way ahead of me, man.
Yeah, so it's... For anyone that hasn't played it or has only put a little bit of time into it, and maybe is sick of as I said at the start, is sick of the climbing part and think, that's it, that's the end of it. I'm not really that interested. I would suggest push on with it. Put the time in to get through it. It does get a little bit frustrating, the constant climbing stuff, but it's sort of...
Can I jump in on that?
Yeah.
I love the climbing. Granted, you're further than I am. I, back in my youth when I had working fingers, actually did a bit of rock climbing and loved it. And this game is so bloody good. Even if this was just the rock climbing game, we joked about it last week, I think, or the week before, Bully, about the cliffhanger of the game. I was saying that in fondness, and this game is it, and it has it in droves. I absolutely love the rock climbing in it. I love it when you get the pickaxes and you get to pickaxe your side up the mountain. I love it when you got the ropes and you do the underhang, the grab on the ropes, and then Bully. I want to know, mate, do you lose your lunch when the bits where you just hold on one hand to the rope and you zip line down and you're flying through? Because I loved it. That lit me up, but I thought this might be the moment the Bully bloody saw his lunch again.
No, it's funny because I think I mentioned that when on the initial impressions of it, but as it turns out, the climbing isn't what's getting me. It's the motion while you're walking. So the scaling vertically isn't the issue. It's the horizontal movement. And what I actually found, as I sort of broke down each sort of segment to try and work out what it was that was causing it, and I worked out is if you're moving with the left stick and actually moving your character around in essence, it's a semi-open area that you're sort of moving around, or the path that you're moving around. Yeah. If you're moving that plus touching the right stick, which rotates your point of view as well, and then on top of that, so if you're wanting to look to the right look to the left and move to the left, I found that your left stick will start you moving, right stick will start your character on screen moving, but then you move your head while you're doing it just out of instinct. So all those three things together combined to, that's where I found the issue is getting nauseous, because your body's moving, but your head's not, but then your head is and your body's not, and it's just too much
sense.
Have you got the black cone like movement stuff that comes up when you move as well? Because I know that's usually a setting in most games.
I've got it turned off. It is there by default, but you can turn it off.
Yeah, or you and me, Troy, we're veterans of the VR, so I don't have any issues now with movement. I remember feeling really sick once playing Borderlands 2 without that locked in. I think it was really bad, but I'm not too bad when it comes to my C-Legs. I'm not sure whether it's the higher fidelity or something in this game. Maybe that's
no. Well, to your point, to exactly your point, Unky, of us having a lot of time in VR, and to your point, Bully, moving that right stick. I have trained myself in VR never to use that right stick. I'm all left stick and then my head, and that prevents the illness. But that's only through experience and analysis, exactly as you've done, man. So now that you know not to do it, you'll be fine.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's funny you say that, because once I'd broken down each segment to work out where I was going, and then I worked out that you can move the left stick to move your character within the environment, but you can look to left and right, and you will actually start moving in that direction that you're looking at.
Yep.
And exactly that. Only use the right stick when you're almost stationary, just to sort of rotate it to exactly where you need to be if you're doing a jump or something like that. So just a bit of a tip for novices like myself in the VR space, that if you are feeling that motion sickness, that's probably the best way to deal with it. And I think since I've started doing that, I haven't really encountered any issues with it. So
yeah,
I'll give you another tip, Bully. There's another one you can do is, like, I know you look stupid, but you can actually, if you move your arms like this while you're playing, it actually simulates walking better. And it does actually help motion sickness. So feel free to do that. I mean, I'm sure there'll be no one that want to record you doing that, but it'll definitely help. Now, Troy, I want to ask you something about
wait, just before you do, your question next, I just want to point out this vision on screen right here. You're saying, do you blokes remember this moment from, it was like Call of Duty, the Troy Baker one? What was that? Advanced Warfare, maybe? There's the bit where you go down the snow scope and then you break out the double pickaxes and you got to time the trigger pulls to it. They have recreated that beautifully in this, and in VR, it was such a thing of beauty. I'm like, this was worth the price of admission for this one jump you're about to see. Sorry, mate. Back to you. What was your question?
No, that's all right. I just want to ask you, because obviously Bully's spoken about this game for the last couple of weeks as well. So we've heard about the game. I want to hear from you, being someone who actually has played a high-end VR and had that experience other than an Oculus or a PlayStation 1. Where does he stand in relation to, what was your, is it the Vive you've got?
Yeah, the HTC Vive is the PC.
Yeah, so when you chuck this on, and I know Bully was obviously, raptured in relation to how it looked when he was going through the river and just in awe of how that worked and the eye tracking stuff. When you loaded up, did you have that experience as well, or were you like, oh, this is now in line with the Vive? Or is
no, hands down. So the Vive is 1080p. It's honest to God. Do you remember that first moment you walked into JB Hi-Fi and you saw 4K monitors? You were used to 1080p everywhere. That's what the HTC Vive is. The second I put on the PSVR 2, I was like, holy bajoli, this is walking into JB Hi-Fi and seeing, the butterfly and close-up flower in 4K for the first time. It's so worth its weight in gold. I know they said it on the way in. It's like, when people go hands on and eyes on with it, they'll evangelize it. Well, sign me up, because I was the big nuffy saying it's way overpriced. And yes, it was expensive. And yes, I'm going to miss that kidney I had to donate to science in order to afford it. But it was worth the price of admission, because putting on this headset, playing this game, look at this jump. Oh, gosh. I goddamn love this game. I love the VR experiences. We've got three other VR tickets, games on the docket to talk about, so I won't go into too much beyond that, other than to say, yes, if you're going to get the headset, absolutely pick up this game, because this game is like the crown jewel of their VR. As I said, I used to be a bit of a rock climber myself, and I love it. And their rock climbing is phenomenal. And it's like, I know you were joking last week, was it, Bully, about the canoe experience? What was that, kayaking or whatever?
Yeah.
Like, it's just that. Game. Yeah, but it's that. It's, you start in the kayak and you're like, holy shit, I've been in rapids before. I've been on rivers. This is like, it's 4K monitor. It's that ridiculously high resolution, zero latency. I'm drooling. I've got to wear a bib when I put the PSVR 2 on. Like, it just, hands down, no question, the coolest bit of tech I've ever used. I bloody love this thing. Unky, go, I don't know, whatever you have to do, sell a kidney. Get your hands on one, mate. It's like nothing else.
I'm doing a lot of chores around the house at the moment, just hoping, just dropping the hint that the two other boys have got it. Hoping Mrs. will just go, oh, here you go. I got
you're just getting the credits in the bank.
That's it, mate. So I don't know whether whether it means I'm going to pay for it, but we'll see. I probably do, let's be honest. But we'll see. I'll just keep being a good boy at home and, make sure and divorce papers.
If I can point out those pickaxes, I don't know if you blokes saw it earlier, but even just, I don't know, Bully, if you want to speak to it, just being able to build the instruments yourself, that was a new experience to me in VR. It's like, I pick up the handle, pick up one of the, I don't know what you call them, metal teeth, pick up the other metal teeth, and then wrap the string around it, and then that's your pickaxe, and then you're off to the races. It was, once again, a brand new VR experience for me, but it felt like I was there. And in the high resolution, the haptic feedback, I'm all about it. Your thoughts, Bully?
Yeah, look, I agree with you. It's probably like the first couple of times you do it, it's that novel sort of thing. I think once you've done it a few times, you sort of go, okay, yeah, I get that part. But I agree with you. The first time you do it and you pick up each individual part of the tool and click it together and all that sort of stuff, it just sort of adds to the experience. I think I can't speak highly enough. And I'll just have a look in the chat there, Tigaro. So for anyone else that is having a look at this footage, he's saying, is it that shaky in real life in terms of the vision you've got,
guys? This is my shooting hand. It's me that's shaky, not the unit.
No, well, I was going to say I think I had similar problems when I was trying to do the Let's Plays and stuff. Is that it does come across as a little shaky, but when you've actually got the headset on yourself, you don't see any of that at all. It's
honestly
very smooth.
Honestly, I'm a shaky person. Like if you just stood there and look at me, you'd see me shaking day to day. This is an accurate representation of how much I shake in real life. But to your point, Bully, because I'm immersed in the world and it's matching up with zero latency to my real world shakes, it all checks out. I'm like, yep, this is how I'm used to seeing the world.
Yeah. So that's there's that, and he's also just mentioned it to you, Dunky, maybe by the G.E.A, then you can afford the VR2.
That's right. I'll see how I go, Tagaro.
All right. Have you got any final points on Horizon Call the Mountain before we move along to Game 3, Bully?
No, carry on.
All right, then. As I alluded to, another VR game. This one is Moss 1. That's Quill, the little mouse there that you play. And Bully's gone into detail, so I'm not going to dwell too long on this. But just to say that this is the footage again. You'll notice this is significantly less shaky the way it's designed because it's not first-person mode. I'm essentially God. And, you're pulling the things out of the water with the orb is this jobby. The little handles. And, I meant to say this last time. Bully, those handles, they could use with an extra 2 centimeters, I reckon. They are just a little bit snug for my bloody old man hands.
The actual controllers themselves.
I'm like, how you say, what was it? Was that in The Last of Us, or was I watching something else? No, I was watching John Wick. In John Wick where she's tied to the chair with her handcuffs and she dislocates her thumbs to slip out of the cuff? No, you don't know what I'm talking about. But I always have to dislocate a thumb to get it in this bloody thing. It's too small. It's great. When it's on, it's fine. But the whole time I can feel that curve into the bottom side of my hand. It drives me nuts. If they do a slightly bigger 2 centimeter larger unit, I'd be real happy about it. But it's fine. I'm not really complaining. I love the unit. It's just a little bit more in the hand room. Great. Sorry, I was meant to be talking about Quill here. Fantastic 2D puzzle platformer. I'm happy to report I suck just as much as at platforming in the PSVR 2 as I do in every other version of platforming. You see me die many times. But check it out. Just the high resolution, like the bloody deer in the background. Bully, do you recall? I don't think the deer was there in the PSVR 1 unit. I feel like they've added so many more on-screen objects with the more hardware. I had no recollection of that deer being in the background on the back there, and it's such environmental storytelling. I love it.
I can't remember it being in there, but I agree with you. 100%, it adds to the environment, and so they're not the only creatures. As you progress through the story, there's more and more stuff in the background as well. So
yeah, it's amazing. I just love it. It's high resolution, and I don't know. I guess it doesn't really do it justice. I'd need to A/B it, but I don't have a working PSVR 1 anymore, so I can't. But this game, this is seriously the whole 1080p to 4K thing again. Me looking at this footage, I remember what it looked like on the PSVR 1, and I'm like, holy hell, this is like so obviously so much better, so much higher resolution, so much more detail. The frame rate is phenomenal. I just cannot sing the praises enough. This whole thing. Look at this, the environmental storytelling there, the swords in the water, the raccoon, the creepy trees up at the moon. Look at that. The whole thing. It's just a visual treat. I absolutely love it. And check it out here. There's the old bloody, the knight's helmet's ruined. Anyway, sorry, I'm ranting and raving. What I like to say is Moss is an amazing game. If you've got access to a PSVR 2, definitely check out Moss. Bully or Unky, any thoughts?
No, I think we've spoken about Moss the last 2 weeks. It's a bit of an old gamer, but I'm just getting jealous because you keep talking about PSVR 2 games, so I'm happy to move on.
I love it. Let's move on to you then, Unky. What's been happening in the old peasant land?
Yeah, well, mate, I can't afford PSVR 2 like you boys, so I've been jumping into Game Pass, mate, when my game's free. And
I was going to say you can't even afford full price games at the moment.
I can't,
Not only that, the games he picks can't afford 1080p res.
things are dire, mate. Speaking of good-looking games, look at this thing. It's weird to explain that this game actually is beautiful. It's got a weird sort of PS1 style graphic, but all the lighting and everything around it is really well done, and even the water's got proper textures and stuff. And some of the stuff I've been doing when I've like gone through this game and seen like storms roll through and the moonlight shining through, because the sky and stuff's all like a normal sky and everything.
What would you say when the moon hits your eye?
I'd say like a big pizza pie. That's amore.
Excellent.
But this game, I remember seeing it come in on PC back in 2021. I think it was early 2021, like maybe January or Feb. And just watching all these people play it on PC, because that's the only place it was available. And I really, really, really wanted to sink my teeth in this. I don't play a lot of survival games, but what I was seeing out of this one, I really am drawn to games with different art styles, and this was sort of really drawing me in. And the gameplay side kind of did as well, because the combat looks sort of Dark Souls light-esque.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that an ode to the opener of Dark Souls 1, the big bird flying you in?
Yeah, well, it's very similar. They just drop you into a procedurally generated world, which obviously you create your own world. So I think you can have up to 10 players in that world. So if you guys want to come in a wild world, you can have up to 10 players playing in that one world. So
when you just watch my footage for the next 2 minutes and you'll retract that invite, but keep going.
Awesome. But no, I really enjoy these games where you feel like you're getting really good progress, and it doesn't seem to take too long to do it. So I mean, you've got to obviously punch trees to start off with, to then get yourself and then find some stones to get yourself a pickaxe and start chopping down trees. And then, you start building houses and chests and getting more wood and, creating armor for yourself by taking out some boars and stealing the leather. So it's all your sort of similar stuff like your Minecraft and any kind of survival game. But then you've got this light sort of Dark Souls-y combat as well, where, eventually you'll make a shield, but you've got, parry mechanics and blocking, and you can strafe around your enemies, and you've got a light attack and a heavy attack. But I think you mentioned in the install today, as I mentioned to you, that I just think they've adapted the controller really well. This, I remember seeing screenshots of the PC version playing in reviews and seeing all these menus and stuff in the game, but it's all done really well and really easy to use. And it was kind of, I didn't really have to think about what I was doing. It was just all there. You've got infinite repairs on your weapons, which I figured out as well. So it doesn't use and dock your resources for repairing your stuff. So if it dies, you go back to your workbench.
Is that Repairiosa or?
It's Repairioso, yeah. Solid. But I'm just having a lot of fun with it. It's brutal in some aspects. Like, you'll go off on a trip into the forest, and it's got that sort of Breath of the Wild style where you sort of just go off adventuring, and I'm going on an adventure. And just, you might just want to cut down some trees. All of a sudden, you've got trolls coming at you. I think this giant, big blue troll that somehow managed to find his way back and destroy my whole base, which was kind of annoying. But he knocked it down, and then I built an even better base. So I know he knocked it down, I made it stronger. So now I've got a nice, spiky fence around my actual, 4-wall building, and I've got a bed in there, which once you go in there, you can save.
Is that where the magic happens?
This is where the magic happens. That's what they say. I think you can actually unlock magic in the game. I haven't done that yet, but they do give you a nice task. So you're doing all this survival stuff, but they do give you a central bit on the map to go after this first boss. And I think there's maybe 5, 6 bosses. I could be speaking out of turn there, but I know there's a few. You can see on the stones on the screen at the moment where they've got...
Check out the stones on that bloke.
with different symbols on it, which correlate to different bosses. So your first sort of main task is to get yourself, enough levels and that to go fight that boss. And when I say levels, you pretty much level up all your stats by doing them. So you can see that little yellow thing that comes around his head. So say you start walking or running, your running skill goes up, or if you're chopping an axe, then your skills with that'll go up. So if you do die, though, you do see a little tombstone drop on the ground, but if you can get back to that tombstone, you get all your stuff back as well. So I have died quite a few times at one point in my game, but I've pushed through, and I'm really enjoying this. I love the way it looks. I love the sense of adventure you get. That's very similar to Breath of the Wild. Chop down trees, they'll roll down the hill, so you've got to be very careful if you chop a big tree down and it lands on top of you. So no, I'm having a lot of fun with this, and I'm just...
How many times did you die to that?
The tree falling on me. I've lost a bit of health. I've never actually died because I'm watching it now, watching it carefully. But watching some of your footage, I don't know if I want you in my world.
No, you don't. Keep watching. It gets better.
Just don't tell me you drown. Did you drown?
I drowned. I cut it out of this, but between friends, I'll tell you, I totally drowned there.
Yeah, so you do have a stamina meter. So to get your stamina and that up, you kind of got to kill either deer or that, and then you can, once you've got your fire and your cooking station, you can cook their meat, and that'll give you extra health and stamina for while that food lasts, which is usually around 10 minutes. So it'll increase your health a lot and increase your stamina a lot. So I'm really enjoying the survival
What's with the
aspects of this
punching
game.
bird?
The punching bird?
The bird that keeps showing up, and then he's got the exclamation mark. There you go.
There's my thing. That's Hugin. That's Zeus. Is it Zeus's? No, not Zeus. Odin's bird. So like in God of War,
Odin's beard.
Odin's beard. This is Odin's bird. So he was a character in God of War. So he's just giving you helpful hints. So every time you unlock a new mechanic, he'll pop up somewhere and tell you what that mechanic is.
So I wasn't meant to just keep punching him every time he appeared.
No, you don't punch him. You just speak to him, and then
watch. I punch him like 30 times, and my punching skill goes through the roof.
Dear. No, I'm having a lot of fun with this. I'm not sure if Bully's managed to dip his toe into it yet or not.
No, I haven't had a chance to get into it at this stage. I think it was on the list, and then downloaded it when it came out, and then, as I said before, just got really back into Call of the Mountain. So it'd be one of the
premium experience. It makes nothing but sense.
Well, I'm not here for peasantry experiences and the like. When I'm sitting on my golden throne, I like to play the upper tier video gaming experience. No, I think it'll be a good one to get into, though. And as you said, I probably the one draw card for me would be to jump in and do a bit of multiplayer where you're sort of doing it all together and see how much that changes the experience, because I haven't really jumped into a lot of sort of survival games like this where you do have that multiplayer element. Normally you're just by yourself and you're sort of working through it. So I reckon as a point of difference, that would be it would be something to look at. So hopefully in the next week, although I just did get Kirby on the new Kirby game delivered this morning. So
was there a new Kirby game this week?
Oh, it came in about 3 weeks ago, I think.
Oh, I was going to say, I don't remember that on the rundown last week on the new games.
No, it came in about 3 weeks ago, and it was on sale from the Dirty Rotten Amazon website, but it was cheap enough that I thought, well, all right. And this is the one time they actually delivered it quickly. Anyway, so I'll jump into that. But again, I'm just looking over at my shelf there, and the ever-increasing backlog of Doom continues to pile up.
The backlog of Doom. Do we have any further points on Valheim, or shall we shuffle on?
No, shuffle
on. Then I pronounce it Wingardium Leviosa. Bully, over to you.
Look, I won't go too much into Hogwarts again, other than to say I've rolled credits on it. So I think all up, and I've done a fair bit of exploring. So I think I'm probably about 65 to 70% of the way through the collectibles and that sort of stuff as well. And it's taken me probably just over 30 hours to get to that amount of collectibles plus rolling the credits. I think I've still got about 10 or 15 side quests to go. So still a fair bit of gameplay. And I think it'll be a game that I think I'll keep going back to just in an hour or two lots over the next couple of months, just to tidy up that stuff and maybe look at going for the platinum. Because I still really enjoyed it towards the end. It was... I reckon the midpoint of the game, it started to drag a little bit, just playing it constantly. But I went back to playing it for, hour or two sessions, 3 or 4 times a week and rounded it out. And just doing it that way, I really enjoyed it a lot more. The end of the story, it's, for the most part, I think if anybody's played it for more than 5 or 10 hours, I think you can probably estimate where the story is going to go to. There's no hidden twists or surprises. If you pay attention, you'll see where it's going. But look, I've really enjoyed my time in the world, and it's got no less exciting, I guess, would probably be the best word, just be wandering around, and then you'll find something, especially in the castle, the Hogwarts castle, when you're wandering around there and you find a little secret that, despite the fact you've wandered around there for 10 or 15 hours, you've seen an area that you haven't seen, or you've gone to somewhere you haven't seen, and little things like that just keep spurring you on and add to the experience of it. So again, a really enjoyable game, and I'm not sure if it's in the news. I'll just scroll down.
There is one in the news, mate.
Well, I'll leave that.
Holster that comment.
I'll leave that. Yes. Stand down.
I'll jump in quickly and say I'm at hour 22 now. You're watching my footage from earlier today. I'm still loving my time with it. As I said, I've had to go pretty easy due to the old man hands. This game specifically on the DualSense really fires up the arthritis, so I'm really stuck at 20-minute spurts sort of every other day at this point. But I wish if Elon Musk can get to making artificial hands already, that'd be fantastic. I'd love to have some artificial hands on me and drop some decent consecutive hours into this game, but I'm still loving my time with it. And I look forward to eventually seeing the end of this and God of War Ragnarok.
Well, again, that's on the backlog as well, so we'll see how we go.
Unky, any thoughts from you, mate?
Other than you both are disgraceful, I didn't finish that game.
Well, it's a bit
I
hard.
couldn't hear you over the PSVR too.
No thoughts. I'm still 25. I think I'm doing exactly what Bully sort of did. I've sort of petered out on playing long stretches of it, and just sort of dabbling here and there and doing an hour here and there, just because you get a bit of that open world fatigue sometimes, especially with a lot of other games out at the moment as well. So I've been flipping between a few, but definitely going back to it and still enjoying my time with it.
It is a great game. Shall I suggest Game 6?
Suggest away.
Game 6 is Res Infinite. Now, here's the main thrust of this. Jim Cry and Ryan, you didn't take enough money from me for this game. My God, the eye tracking, Bully. The eye tracking is where it's at. You can see the entire next 10 years of video games in Res Infinite specifically. So what I'm doing here is just looking at my targets. They're getting lit, and then I'm pulling the trigger, or you hold the trigger, look at the targets, release the trigger, and then you shoot off 6 or 8 missiles or whatever in one hit. But this is the step. Do you guys remember going from keyboard and mouse back to controller, like that step down in speed of play? Like if you're on a keyboard and mouse, I would argue you can go what feels like 10 times faster. In a first-person shooter, for example, how much quicker is the draw with a mouse than a controller? Are you with me?
Yeah.
So eye tracking is that step up from the keyboard and mouse. Eye tracking is 10x quicker than aiming with a mouse. If you tie this together with something like a Rocket League, you're never going to pull me out of VR. The speed at which you can input, and it's the basics of video games. What is it? Input, update, render, input, update, render, input, update, render. They've shortened that stack because the input is so incredibly fast with just the glance of an eye. They are going to be able to pull off games that I can't even imagine now, which has got me so excited. Like, I can't imagine how much quicker Rocket League will be when instead of moving the thumbstick to steer, you're glancing your eye to steer. You're going to be able to have Rocket League matches going at 10 times the speed. People are going to be able to jump off the roof, score a goal, be back and defending their own square at light speed. I cannot imagine what esports are going to look like. Give them 5 years and Rocket League in VR2, you are going to see the most currently unbelievable thing ever. You guys know how like baseball's in a bit of trouble at the minute. They're like, the game's too old, it's too slow, we're losing viewers because it doesn't have the audience action. This is it. This is that next step up. Eye tracking, look at that. And I've just lit up 12 targets. With a flick of the eyes, I've lit up 12 targets. They're my next 12 inputs. Computer, go off and do them. And then I'm looking off at my next 10. Shoot those, next 10. Shoot those. The speed at which I can input, output into the game world is phenomenal. There is a limitless horizon of possibilities on the future now with this PSVR 2 and eye tracking. I cannot goddamn wait for this to really get unlocked. Like, you can see it. If you play Res Infinite with eye tracking mode, you can see the future of gaming. Obviously, this is incredibly low res. It almost looks like we're looking at the Lawnmower Man. But if you ignore the graphical output, if you just appreciate it on a human interaction with computer response to human interaction, that loop, that gameplay loop through eye tracking has gone from a 10th of a second to a 100th of a second. I cannot even imagine the speed at which we're going to be able to, like, speed running will be something everyone will be able to do. Like, when they work out how to do the eye tracking into a 3D environment for navigating like a Nathan Drake, you're just going to be able to up and through levels. Like, you're going to be able to speed run everything. I am so excited. The future is here, Unky Dunky. Get yourself a PSVR 2. Play Res Infinite with eye tracking mode. It's like input option 4. You've got to go 4 things through. No, I don't want to target with a thumbstick. No, I don't want to target with my head movement. No, I don't want to target with the combination of the two. I just want to use my eyes. And then the speed at which the gameplay happens. And if you're like me and your dopamine receptors go through the roof on a good input-output loop, oh boy, the future is here. It's now. And I just can't wait for them to start putting some high-res textures, but on this very quick input-output game. Game over. I'm going to stop ranting. Any questions? This is the future, boys. You're looking at it.
No questions, but I just don't think I want to play all games with my eyes somehow.
Wait till you play it.
I get it. I get it. This game's cool. I don't want to control Nathan Drake with my eyes. I don't know.
Wait until you've played this game, man. It's seeing is one thing, but experiencing is something else. Bully, I remember on the first night when you were talking about eye tracking, you were saying how good it was. Back me up, please.
Oh, it is amazing once you get used to it. Maybe if you could control Carmen Sandiego with your eyes, I might be interested. But it is amazing that...
You would only be doing this one, Bully.
It is amazing. And you guys could probably speak to it a bit more. Does the Vive or the Oculus have eye tracking in it?
Nope. First time I've ever gone eyes on with it.
Yeah, and it's funny because the first, and you probably know by now, Troy, the first couple of times you sort of use it, you overcorrect a little bit because you're used to moving your head. So I found quite often when I first started playing Horizon is that it's got the eye tracking, but you'd actually move your whole head across to one side, but your eyes were moving as well. So you thought you were looking at the menu item, but because your eyes are also flicking it, it's tracking it from the left. If you're looking at a menu option on the right, your head goes there, but your eyes, it then follows your eyes across those menu items as well. So it's flicking across as you go. So it's really something you got to get used to, which is
can I
a strange sensation and a strange feeling. So I 100% would be really interested to try this out and see what it's like, but it's just a matter of it might take a bit of getting used to, I guess, because it's not something we've really ever encountered before.
And that's exactly why I'm saying specifically this game and this implementation. I agree with all your points 100%. And if I didn't have this Res Infinite to teach me, you remember how they included Solitaire in Windows 3.1 so people could learn to use a mouse and pointer, like point and click and drag? That was the whole point of Solitaire. Like, this is how you use this tool. Res Infinite is the basic Solitaire version of this is how you use eye tracking, because once you've gone hands-on with this for 5 minutes and you wrap your head around it, exactly to all your points, Bully, the difference between turning your head and moving your eyes, you play Res Infinite with eye tracking for 5 minutes and then you go back to Horizon Call of the Wild, it's a different experience. You're like, holy hell, I was nowhere near the potential. And, I'm so young into this. I feel like I'm a newborn baby and I've got this whole world of possibilities in front of me. God, I am excited about the future of gaming with eye tracking. I see nothing but upward potential. This is going to revolutionize everything. Like, you think about, we always bang on about how good accessibility in gaming is and how important it is to be able to enable people to have new experiences. If you're physically limited to the point where you couldn't use your hands, but you could use your eyes and this this is going to unlock the entire universe of gaming to you. This is just something you seriously have to use yourself. And once you've gone eyes on with this Res Infinite eye tracking for targeting, it'll change your entire outlook on video gaming. Like, everything else now looks outdated and old. I've banged on enough.
That's right.
No, let's move on. I don't think we need to speak about eye tracking. I know Troy's very excited. I know. You're speaking for PSVR 2, and I don't have one, so you guys can get started.
All right, no more PSVR 2 On to Game 7.
Game 7.
Oh, wait, no, it's Tetris Effect Connect in PSVR 2, and it's fucking amazing.
Moving on.
No, I love this game. You've got to look at it because if you played this on PSVR 1, you'll remember that there was, 12 or 16 dots on the outside. Look at that, 256 dots on the outside. Woo, just shaking there in the outside. And then when you go through the level and it explodes and there's light everywhere, it's an amazing light show. And boof, 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 the beat's going off and it's, get PSVR 2 and get these games, Unky. Come on.
So I'm
The
just going
future is now.
to turn down my headset a little bit.
Okay, sorry. I'm going to hand it over to you instead, Unky. Resident Evil 4 demo. How's Citizen Gaming treating you?
Let's talk about some real games.
Oh, shout out to Bully. This is your Let's Play. Great work, mate.
No, this one, shout out to Tagaro as well. I mean, just in time for his $30 donation. Thank you so much in the chat there, Tagaro.
Whoa, thank you, Tagaro.
He's slowly putting his money towards my PSVR 2, so thank you. Headset's paid off, so we're moving on to the next thing. No, Resi 4 demo, I'm assuming all you guys have played it. This is Bully's footage, so I know he's played it. I played it on PS5 and on the Xbox, finished it on both.
Point of order. I installed it. I haven't played it because I'm just waiting for the real game. I don't want to spend any time on it. I'm waiting for the PSVR 2 implementation.
Oh god, no, that's fair. I mean, it doesn't give you enough of the game to spoil anything really. It's literally that start of the game. It just gives you a tiny little taste, and all it does is make you want to play the full game even more. I think I may pick this up on Xbox, given I've played it on both. And no, PS5 for whatever reason, I think the Xbox actually looks slightly sharper.
When you get that PSVR 2, though, mate, you're going to want it.
They're not going to have implementation into the main game, so I don't really care about it. But I don't mind the controller stuff with it. Like when you're walking around with Leon, you can feel his footsteps in the PS5 controller. But there's a lot of that stuff that I think you'll probably even turn off, Troy, because it's bad for those hands anyway. And I find pulling the trigger on the PS5 is a little bit tougher than the Xbox. But
definitely.
Fidelity-wise, I think it does look slightly better on the Xbox. I'll wait and see what all the Digital Foundry guys and stuff have to say about it, but I'll probably have to make my decision up before then because those videos don't come out till after. So,
although I've noticed a high consistency in their reviewing of the RE engine. They always say the same thing about the RE engine. I'm assuming, and I don't know, this is a question, I assume, is this game built on that same RE engine as the 2 and 3 remake? And so just go back to any of the previous Digital Foundry videos, whatever they said about the Xbox versus PlayStation, I'll bet the house on that being the exact same call here.
Yeah, and going by my previous purchases, which have been on the Xbox for the Resident Evil games, so I might just do that. But we'll see. I mean, we really to have both consoles and be able to have the luxury of even trying it on both. So, but for the game itself, like I just think it looks great. I think it handles really well. I like the new crouch mechanic. I like the knife. It's a bit annoying that your knife breaks after a little while, but I think you'll be able to pick them up and repair them and stuff in the main game. But I do like the parry mechanic now that you can use, which is awesome to use on a whole bunch of guys coming at you. I think I sent you a video this week about me just doing a full standoff with all the guys in that chainsaw.
No spoilers, mate. We've got a 1,000+ view video there. Just keep that one on your head.
I'll leave that one there. A bit of a grinding spot early in the game, but no, there's even all these secrets hidden in this demo, which I found out as well. If you dump all your handgun and your health spray and your knife at the start before you go into that area, a secret area opens up in that, and you can go down the ladder and you can actually get the SMG very early with a whole bunch of ammo. Just take them all out there.
Is this in the demo?
Yeah, just in the demo.
And is that so? It's not in the real game, or it will be in the real game?
I don't know. I think it may be because it's like a sewer cover that just gets removed if you dump all your gear before you go into that area.
Is that a new? I've never heard of anything like that in Resident Evil.
Neither have I. So I don't know whether it's demo specific at all. And I know you can roll you can roll a specific, which I only happened to me once, part of the demo where the chainsaw guy comes out with flames on his chainsaw. So it's like a harder version of the demo, which can just randomly present itself to you. So it's only happened to me once on the Xbox.
Are you sure it's not based on like your hit accuracy or something? Like maybe if you're shooting above 90% headshots or something?
Yeah, I don't know. It seemed to happen after I did a really quick run. Like I think I managed to finish the demo in under 5 minutes. And then the time after that is when it happened. So I'm not sure if it's tied to that. I'm not too sure. I've heard it's random, but no, this game's got me really excited. I cannot wait now. It's next Friday. So it's,
is there a buy the deluxe edition, get it on Tuesday kind of deal?
No, I did check. That's my favourite type of pre-order deal. And speaking of pre-order deal, actually, I think it's in the news, so I'll wait for that one. But no, I think Tagaro is going to be excited. I'm not sure if he's had a chance to step into the demo yet, maybe let us know in the chat there, Tagara, if you've had a chance to step into the demo. But this only gets me more excited. And the most recent trailer they showed of this, it just looks even better and better. And they've toned back the rain effects now. But I really like to be able to run around and shoot him in the legs and do your melee attack. It feels very Resident Evil 4. It just feels a very much newer version, like they did with the Resi 2 and Resi 3 remake. But I cannot wait for this next Friday.
My hype meter's at 11, and I don't want to go off the boil by playing the demo. I don't know if that makes any sense to you, but I cannot goddamn wait. But I'm like, I'm not touching that demo. I want the full experience, and I want to be absorbed into the world and then just, stay up till 3 a.m. or something gaming next Friday.
Yeah, no, I just got to be more excited just playing this and knowing the stuff that I was hunting around every little nook and cranny to find more ammo and find all this stuff, and just knowing that I'm going to be able to do that through, to actually add to my character in the main game. It just gets me excited because I know I can't do that here, but it's just a taste, and I think it was just the right amount of taste, a nice little slice of the game that doesn't, give you too much, but it just leaves you wanting more. And God, if I don't want more of this game.
Nice. Bully, your thoughts?
Oh, I think he covered it pretty well. It'd be interesting to see how many of those little tidbits and secrets are in the final version of the game. But Tagara's got a couple of things in there for you. So he's played it 30 times, Troy, and he's still excited for it. So you might be able to at least have one playthrough, I would have thought.
No, I'm holding myself. I'm saving myself for marriage.
He's thrown down the gauntlet to Unky, saying that if he's hashtag real gamer, he has to beat the hard chainsaw mode with a Dr. Salvador kill to prove that you are, in fact, the hashtag real gamer. So we'll need to see you do that at some point.
Or the hashtag real gamer PSVR 2 purchase.
Oh, yeah, maybe. Now, Troy, I just want to ask you, you said you get on PS5. Do you consider getting on Xbox just mainly because your hands do struggle with the controller? Or are you going to do the whole PS4 controller thing?
So... yes, exactly. I'll get it on PS5 and then I'll remote in and use the DualShock 4 and I'll look at the output of the PS5. I'll use the DualShock 4, but there is no way now that I've got the PSVR 2 and I know it's not the full experience, but that they're giving any love to the PSVR 2. It's a no doubter. I've got to pick it up on PS5 for that.
Nah, fair call.
But no, to your point, man, I've been playing Resident Evil 2 and 3 remake on the Xbox Series X and that Elite Series 2 with the back paddles for my arthritis hands. I absolutely love it, and I wish I could get it working through my little USB dongle on the PlayStation, but it doesn't matter what I try, I cannot get them to talk.
Yeah, so I found even playing just the game on the PS5, just the way the controllers map, I don't know, I just felt way more comfortable playing it on the Xbox controller, and I don't normally feel that. Playing Dead Space, I have no issues. For whatever reason, it was the way, Leon handles compared to the other game. I don't know what it is, but sometimes PS5 games forever just don't feel as good than the Xbox, and vice versa. Sometimes PS5 just feels better to play. I don't know what it is, how the controller works. It's just certain games feel different. So I don't know. We'll see.
One day, I'd love to be able to go hands-on Returnal on an Xbox, just because I know intimately how that game feels. It would be a great cross-check. Oh, I guess we could do it via PC, man, now that I think about it. Like your PC support the Xbox, that'd be a way to do it. Sorry, I'm rambling. Back to you, sir.
No, that's right. This demo got me excited. Obviously, Tagaro, he can't wait 30-plus times with the demo already, and he still can't wait. So,
what's your best time, Tagaro, in those 30 times? What's your high score time-wise? Or low score? You know what I'm saying. Yeah. Quickest time to complete.
Let us know. But no, Troy, I think if you're going to wait out, you don't have long to wait now. It's only next Friday for the release of this, so you've done well to hold out. You've got plenty of PSVR 2 to play in the meantime.
Oh, shit, yeah. You're not going to pull me away from Aloy in 3D VR. I don't even know what to call it anymore. It's just amazing. Speaking of not knowing what to call things, what do you say, boys? Should we dial into Ace at the bar and see what he's got to say for himself this week?
Go on, let's do it.
Ace back again. Thanks for having me, Troy, Suki, and the bullied one. And this week, I've got a special edition of Ace's Bar, because there's something that's got me tingling down in my nether regions, and I just have to get it out. And here it is, boys. It's the Big Cock Award. And this one goes to all you hackers and cheats on DMZ and Modern Warfare, running around trying to ruin everyone else's time because you haven't got the skills to basically challenge the baboon lip on PlayStation and DMZ, because I take yous all out. And all of you boys now, probably back at home watching this video, having a bit of a cry, you also get the Golden Sook Award. Thanks very much, lads, for having me. I'll see you next time. Yeah.
Here we go. Welcome back, boys. Ace, thank you very much, mate. Great work on the bar. I love the new edition. I love the new award. Fellas, any points from you, or shall we kick in a newsroom door?
No, I think he needs to start hitting the gym, that's all.
Oh, shots fired, Ace. Get to the gym.
Week, so
you have the right to remain newsworthy. First up this week from Video Games Chronicle, over to you, Unky. Story one.
Story one, we almost alluded to it before when we were speaking about the Last of Us TV show, but season 2 of HBO's Last of Us show will not cover the entirety of Last of Us Part 2 video game. Its creators have revealed. So,
wait, can I?
Yep, go.
Back to our original conversation, Bully. Remember how I said, and no spoilers, but about the hour mark into number 2, I reckon they can squeeze an entire season of that first hour of the game.
Quite possibly. I reckon the other reason is that I think maybe season 1 was a bit of a taste tester to see how it was going to be received by the wider audience outside the gaming public, and obviously rating through the roof. So I sort of look at it and go, and fair enough that they might try to, get 2 or 3 seasons out of number 2.
Such fertile ground.
Yeah, and get
into the weeds.
Get as much out of it as they can. My only issue is, as we've spoken about before, is that they haven't got down into the weeds with the killing of the zombies and all the rest of it. And it's been very much about the narrative and the character building. So whether that goes out the window a little bit while they're trying to extend out the play time or the run time of each episode, I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Beautiful work, mate. I love it. Sorry, Unky, I cut you off midstream there.
No, that's all right. I think this was always going to be the case. I couldn't see the Last of Us Part 2 being 1 season. And if it was, it'd have to be 20 episodes. So I'm not sure how they're going to split it up, whether they split it up like the game splits it between the 2 main characters of that game. But I could see them sort of playing with Thomas a little bit different and giving us more background of other characters, although they've got a lot less time to spend on that stuff because there is so much more content in that game. So whether they deviate less and give us just more of what that game is, it remains to be seen. But I do think we're definitely getting 2 more seasons at least of this, and I think they're going to have to be longer seasons as well. And I think we will get more infected. I think they've come out and said there will be more infected, and that in the next season, which sort of stands to reason for the actual game itself. And we've got the Seraphites, we've got all the other different factions in that game as well. The WLF, I think they're called. So there's going to be a lot of combat scenarios I think we're going to see, and I think that's, given the fact we've come through this the first season, which is all about love, and the next one's all about hate, I think it would only seem plausible that this is going to be a bit more violent season when it comes to the combat and the visceral nature of Ellie's actions.
Who's ready for tinfoil hat time?
Chuck it on.
All right, Last of Us Factions is going to take place during the lead up to and then the very start of part 2. And so they're going to have the entirety of whatever the multiplayer experiences of the upcoming Factions game is going to build out the narrative that HBO are going to latch onto for seasons 2 and 3. Because if you read further down in the article, they say a minimum of 2 seasons, alluding that the end of part 2 could in fact be in season 4 or season 5 of the HBO show. So then the question is, where are they pulling that story from? We know they've got the upcoming Factions. Tinfoil Hat Troy says that story is going to take place right at the start of The Last of Us Part 2. And that's where a lot of the storytelling is going to tie together. And that's going to be the big cash cow for them when they flick the live service model on, when they flick the battle pass on, and you're buying the skins and the upgrades to go with seasons 2, season 3, season 4 of HBO show. What do you think?
Yeah, potentially. I could see there being some kind of link in with characters or whatever that might come in that next Last of Us game. But I know they have said specifically they are going to stick to the game story, but I can see with the expansion of some characters and stuff, why not sort of weave some of them? If they're unknown characters, like, we got Kathleen, who was an unknown character in season 1. Why not introduce another character, that, isn't unknown? It is part of that Last of Us Factions game. So I could definitely see something like that happening and being woven into that sort of more live service type game.
I think the point I'm trying to, make is just that they've got so much they can add into that time period via this third game that they haven't even released yet, and it's still up on blocks. The fact that it's so heavily into development while they've got such a successful TV show on their hands, they're crazy if they're not starting to really spin some extra narrative into that multiplayer game now, I reckon.
Yeah, they have to be, I'd surely.
Bully, thoughts? Not necessarily on the tinfoil hat, mate. Anything on the story?
No, I think I've said my piece on it. But in terms of what you're saying, I think it makes sense that in some way, shape, or form that they release, at some point factions and then sort of draw on the show back into factions itself, being a multiplayer affair and trying to extract some money out of it in that respect. So it probably makes a bit of sense.
Cool. All right. Story 2 time. Unky Dunky, over to you. Back to Video Games Chronicle.
Story 2. Nintendo thinks Zelda Tears of the Kingdom will justify its $70 price tag. US boss says the game's price point reflects the type of experience that fans can expect. So I don't mind this. I mean, again, a lot of games coming out on next gen consoles and stuff are already up at that top tier price anyway. So a little bit extra for a game like this that's going to be on par with a lot of those games. Maybe not graphically, but I think content wise, it's $10. I really don't care. I'd pay probably $120 for this game, which I've paid for games that are not near this good. So for me, it's neither here nor there, and I don't think it's going to be a pattern. I think if the quality of game's there, most people are going to spend it. Nintendo, the business of making money, and why not with a flagship title like this? Charge people an extra $10. They're still going to pay for it. It's not egregious.
It's not, and I would almost go so far as to say, I reckon this is maybe the last time we're ever going to hear this story. I feel like we've heard this story a lot for the last 2 years, but this is the final one of the big boys to do it, and I think this is game over now. It's just everyone accepted it's now 70 US or 120 in Australia. Move on.
Yep.
Bully, any thoughts?
Oh, I agree with you. I think most people have sort of moved on and accepted that's just the price tag of a premium AAA experience these days. But I think it's probably just the climate we find ourselves in, especially given it's Nintendo of America's head that's come out and said it, because obviously there's some issues financially over there with inflation and all that sort of stuff. Maybe it's just a gentle reminder, I guess, to the general public that yes, it's going up, but everything's going up in price, around the world, not just America, but everything's going up in price. But what you're going to get out of it is well worth the extra. So I think it's, all of us are going to sit here and say I think that was fairly self-explanatory with the game anyway, that it was going to be, the very top tier that Nintendo is going to put out, and it's going to be worth it in some way, shape, or form. I think it's just trying to placate people and just settle them down in the current climate. I think is probably where that's at.
Fair enough. Fair call. All right, then. Story 3. Back to some wizarding news.
Yeah, another one that we almost dropped earlier. Speaking about Hogwarts, this game just keeps going strength to strength in terms of its numbers. Hogwarts Legacy has already topped Elden Ring's lifetime sales in the UK and reportedly surpassed Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga by the end of the week. So it's gone on to sell 20 million copies since release in February 2022.
Don't I look foolish saying that it was going to hit 20 million by Christmas?
I was going to say, yep, Troy, you said Christmas. So I think this thing's going to, it's going to be hitting 50, doesn't it, by Christmas?
Oh, easy. So,
no, it speaks volumes to the game itself being a good game and not just part of the Harry Potter franchise. And, like we've spoken about it a lot, so we don't need to beat a dead horse. But, just the game keeps going strength to strength. And I think, come into the year, if it's not one of the top-selling games of the whole year, then, call me crazy.
Yep, I love it. The big question that is on my lips, and we don't even have to answer it, but is how many game sites are going to include this in their Game of the Year conversations that refuse to cover it on launch day? That's what I want to know.
Well, it's funny you say that because without harping on the political side of it, but it just goes to show that we're, and it's not just gaming, but it's across the spectrum, is that we're giving a minority of people too much voice and too much of a platform to be able to speak on and espouse their viewpoints, when in the reality is, and this just goes to prove the point, it sold $20 million in what are we talking, just over a month?
Yeah, 20 million copies in a month. Yeah.
20 million copies in 4 or 5 weeks. So that just goes to prove that the general public don't want to hear a lot of what the commentary off the side is, and they're prepared to make up their own mind based on what it is. And clearly, you can think what you want about J.K. Rowling, but the reality is it's an extremely popular franchise. Video game aside, anything Harry Potter is going to sell like hotcakes. So I think that's just something that people just need to take in perspective when you talk about, the game sites not covering it and stuff. The ones that haven't or have put out what can only be described as ridiculous reviews that don't even touch on the game and just want to go to the political points. I think they just end up with egg on their face and probably on the bottom totem pole of where people are going to look for their gaming information going forward.
Indeed, mate. Well said. All right, Unky, story 4.
We're back to Last of Us news. So this one here, Naughty Dog had planned to let another studio make a prequel to The Last of Us at one point. It has been revealed. Neil Druckmann, speaking to the guys at Kind of Funny, said that there was supposed to be another game planned. It looked like it was going to sort of star or mainly be the main character was going to be Anna, so Ellie's mum was planned, but it was going to be a different developer. So I guarantee you it wasn't going to be a Last of Us style game. I reckon you probably would have seen maybe a Telltale style game or something in that ilk of to tell a different kind of story of that, but obviously it never came to fruition. But I could see some of this sort of popping up. Now that Last of Us is so big after the HBO show, I could definitely see it being like the Marvel games, how they sort of get handed out to different developers now to produce different games for Marvel. I could see Last of Us becoming a franchise where there are different pockets of game developers that are developing different experiences for the franchise. So I'm excited to see what could happen. But
you know what I'm looking forward to, mate?
What's that?
The PSVR 2 released by another development studio.
I'll have a PSVR 2 by the time it comes out, so don't worry about that.
Next week?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, now we're talking. Unky, get on board. The future is here. I love it. Great work, mate. I don't think Bully's here for any comments on this story, and I think you summed it up beautifully. So shall we move on to story 5?
Let's do it, just for something different. It's more Last of Us.
Can I just say, before we launch, on this one, take a close look at the image on the left, obviously the creator Neil Druckmann, and then on the right, Ellie from The Last of Us Part 2. Which of those is sharper? Because one's a photo in reality and the other's a video game render, and I would argue the video game render looks realer than Neil Druckmann. Sorry, mate. No, the real story.
That says something about Last of Us Part 2 and those developers. They do some ridiculously good stuff when it comes to
yes.
Now, Neil Druckmann explains how Naughty Dog chose its next unannounced game. So I know the fans really want Last of Us Part 3, says Studio's co-president, but apparently they've already made up the decision of what their next game is going to be. I still read into the fact that he discussed that, watch this, he discussed that, they're only going to work on something they're really passionate about. There's no point sort of not working on something passionate, but they're not, and then after 2 years, they halfway through the game and they're not going to want to keep working on it. So, but he's gone in to say they've had these discussions about, new IPs and Last of Us Part 3. He goes, we all know you want Last of Us Part 3, but we've already made the decision about our next game and we've already started developing on it. He doesn't necessarily say that next game is not Last of Us Part 3. He could potentially be saying, we are passionate about making Last of Us Part 3. That is our game. So he never specifically says it isn't Last of Us Part 3, but I'd like to see a new IP. I think with the factions or whatever they're going to call it, Last of Us multiplayer live service game, I think with that in development now, I think you do want to see them do a new IP, let Last of Us breathe a bit, and then hit us with Last of Us Part 3.
Do you want to hear the number one on my wish list for Naughty Dog to tackle next?
What's that?
A new Batman franchise.
Oh, if they did Batman,
how good would that be?
It would be good. I just can't see them working on an IP that's not theirs. I think they've earned their space in the limelight now as these developers that make really good third-person action games that tell really good stories. So
yeah, but how good was the Arkham franchise?
Well, I know. I mean, that's the thing. You could do the same thing with Batman. I think a known IP would be good for someone like them. I think they could tell a good story with another IP. I just don't think they're the studio that's going to do it. I think Neil Druckmann likes to tell a story. I don't think he's going to want to use another IP to do that, as good as it could be. But
I like the idea, though, of if you use the Batman IP, you can scrub 2 years off your development timeline. Instead of taking 5 years because you've got to spend the first 2 building the world, jump straight to year 3, jump straight to prototyping, modeling, what's the gameplay mechanics. You can jump 2 years so they could squirt out a quick Batman game, and I say squirt out as in 3-year development window, not 5. Jump onto Batman, give us one phenomenal Batman game, and then get back into your own IPs. That'd be the Whitlam sampler box for me.
I could definitely see him doing something completely different, kind of how the Ghostwire Tokyo guys jumped out and gave us Hi-Fi Rush this year, like something completely different, just amazing quality game, but not necessarily at all linked to something like what they're doing. So they've got their maybe a non-serious game, whether it is another Jack and Daxter or something, while they let Last of Us factions breathe until Last of Us Part 3. I don't know. I'd be happy to see something different from them. I don't necessarily need a hardcore sad, grimy story every time from them. Again, Uncharted did that as well as darker. That got darker as time went on, but it was still a fun romp. So I could easily see something either fitting in between that or going complete opposite way and just being sort of light and fun. What a work on that Last of Us in the background as well.
And just a slide point, I only heard the other day that Hi-Fi Rush was a 5-year development job. I didn't know that. I read that in an article a couple of weeks ago. I was surprised. Sorry, Billy, your thoughts on the old Neil Druckmann's next game?
No, I think you covered it pretty well. And I tend to agree with Unky a little bit. I'd like to see them, they've obviously got the expertise in terms of telling a fantastic story. I'd really, as much as I want to see another good Batman game, which it doesn't sound like we're going to be getting one anytime soon. I really like the fact that they have their own stories and they tell it their own way. They're not sort of confined or constricted by the previously set world. And I know there's some artistic license that you can have within Batman, but it doesn't allow them to fully flesh out and explore their worlds and their environments. So I'd really like to see them go away and do something else, because what do we have? 3 Uncharted games before they said, no, we're not doing any more Uncharted. And then what do we get out of that? The original Last of Us. So you can see what they will offer up when they go away and make their own thing, because they're passionate about it, they're excited about it, and that's what they want to do. So I think it's well worth it, and really excited to see what they come up with.
I'm with you guys 100%. I'm not trying to diss them in any way. I just really want a shorter pipeline. I want their next game sooner rather than later. That's the only reason I'm suggesting they should tread into the Batman franchise. But I agree completely with your points. They are number one unique storytellers. I'm not trying to take that off them. All right, story 6, Unky?
6 is it? Yeah, number 6. Diablo.
I think you'll find it's Diablo.
Beta starts this weekend, unless you've pre-ordered it. It starts tomorrow, I think. So I was very tempted to pre-order this because I know you get a couple of days with the beta, but it's a game I'm most definitely going to pick up again. I think you can access the beta on PC, PS5, and Xbox.
Is it a buy once, access 3 platforms? Is that what you just said?
No. The beta's available through all the platforms.
I misunderstood. Sorry.
Yeah, so it's not just a PC or PS5 or Xbox thing. I think the beta's running this weekend across all platforms. So,
is there any talk of PSVR 2, or should I pre-order this on Xbox?
I get it's an Xbox, mate. There's no PSVR 2 compatibility, and you need all that hard drive space. I think you can get with all those PSVR 2 games.
Oh my God!
Clogging up that PS5 now.
Yes, Bully. I need to expand the hard drive like you, my friend.
Oh, best thing I've ever done. But you can play it in cinema mode, Troy.
I'm sure you could.
Diablo in cinema mode.
Is it cinema mode with eye tracking? Because then sign me up. I'm never taking the headset off again.
I don't know.
So back to the news story. For
wait, you don't want to talk about the PSVR 2 more? No,
don't. So Australian Eastern Time. So from this Saturday, March 18 at 3 a.m. Through to Tuesday, March 21 at 6 a.m. You get to play it. Otherwise, the following weekend, from Saturday, March 25 to the March 28th, it's an open beta, so you don't actually have to pre-order it if you want to wait another week to play the beta for Diablo 4.
Is there any discount anywhere, like a PS Plus discount or a Game Pass Ultimate whatever discount? Do we have a cheaper platform option? Maybe?
No, I haven't seen one. I think the only options I've seen are I think the standard editions are $109.95 here, and I think you can pay for the extreme editions that are like $129, $139.95 for a whole bunch of extra DLC content and skins and all that kind of stuff. But
all right, then, Bully, job for you, mate. Get typing. Am I better off doing an Amazon pre-order and hoping they deliver it tomorrow for the early access, or how does it work? No, well, it's just the beta access, isn't it? So it'll just be a code.
Just a code, yeah.
Yeah.
What's the price difference? Bully, can you please get me a price on a JB Hi-Fi type release versus Amazon? Or, sorry, the digital store, I mean. The Xbox storefront versus Amazon or the like. Sorry, Unky, I'm derailing us. Please take the show.
No, that's right. Mate, we can move to the next story as well, because that's for that one. Next story 7. Ghostwire Tokyo is coming to Xbox Game Pass next month alongside new content. We've got new enemies, new areas.
Runner-up for the Game of the Year?
Yeah. New enemies, new arenas, and new roguelite mode will be included in the update. So coming to Xbox much quicker than Deathloop did from the PS5. So this one, I think it was out probably the same time last year. I think on the PlayStation, roughly, it was about this time we got it. So coming to Xbox, obviously owned by Bethesda. I've already played Hi-Fi Rush.
Free in Game Pass?
free in Game Pass. Arguably a better game is Hi-Fi Rush, but if you never got
point of order, sir.
no, well, I enjoyed Hi-Fi Rush more than Ghostwire. Ghostwire again, like we were actually one of the ones that sang its praises. I know a lot of people didn't like it, but
I was singing up for emotional resonance, and the end got me to tear up. I think this is real top tier gaming.
And it is adding a lot more modes for the Xbox version. So if you want some more and you want it free, it's on Game Pass next month.
Woohoo!
I think that's it for the news stories. I think, Bully, have you managed to find those prices for Troy? You
muted, Mike.
Amazon 80, JB 90, and it looks like the digital version off the PS Store. At least I haven't found the Xbox price, but 110 digital.
So Amazon is the winner then?
Would appear so.
Amazon, a winner is you. Now,
if you want to receive it 6 months after release date.
Not that I'm a morally corrupt kind of person, Bully, but in theory, could you pre-order the game on Amazon today, get the beta code in your email tomorrow, and then cancel your Amazon pre-order? You know, it might be a free access into that beta early if you were so inclined. Maybe, could be, possibly. I never said that. All right. Unky Dunky. The Game Informer's list.
Game Informer's list this week out. We have The Legend of Heroes Trails to Azure on PS4, Switch, PC on March 14. The Wreck on PS5, Xbox Series X and X, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. We have Walken, Lords of Mayhem. This one actually looks all right. PS5, Xbox Series X and S. Looks a bit Diablo-ish, to be honest.
Diablo.
Early reports, it looks pretty good. We have Anno 1800 on PS5, Series X and S. I think it's also on Game Pass. The Dark Pictures Switchback VR game on PSVR 2.
A PSVR 2 game? This would be the first one of the evening.
It'd be great if you guys could still afford it and get it on your console with all the hard drive space you've still got. Then we have Bayonetta Origins, Cereza, and The Lost Demon. This is that new weird top-down Bayonetta, but all accounts it's getting pretty decent reviews. Game Informer there, 8.75. I think GameSpot reviewed it today at a 9, so getting good reviews. And WWE 2K23. It feels like we're only just waxing lyrical about 2K22 and saying how good a game that was. So 2K23 is out tomorrow. I think if you pre-order, that was a 3-day early access if you wanted to spend the $119, whatever it was, to get it 3 days early. But PS5, Series X and S, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, PC. And it's your man John Cena this year as opposed to Rey Mysterio Jr.
Can you just show us your John Cena pose there? Can you match his into your current framing there, Unky?
What's he doing? Okay.
No, come on, mate. Get the muscles into it. We need to see the big flex.
I don't have enough camera width.
Very good. All right, then, fellas. Is it time for everyone's favourite segment?
I think it is.
Dun, 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 dun. Who will fight? Who will fight? Unky Dunky, what are the constraints for this week's standoff and who is fighting?
All right, this week we are looking at the great gaming friendships with Joel and Ellie cementing their friendship at the end of the HBO show, just like they did in the game. So we're going to look at some of the other friendships in games and we'll see if we can pick a winner.
Excellent work, my friend. Sorry, I've just got a minor technical difficulty. I think we're sorted.
All good?
All good. I thought we were about to lose a computer due to heat, but I think we've saved it. All right. My apologies, everyone. Here we go. Standoff entry number 1.
Number 1. Where would we be without friendships, without Mr. Drake and Sully? One of my
nowhere. That's where we'd be.
Video games from day dot, from game one. These guys are thick as thieves, and not even day one on the game. Like they do flashbacks where Sully meets Drake for the first time as a young boy, and he teaches him the ways. I think it's probably the first thing we're actually seing here on screen is him as a boy in Uncharted 3, I believe, if I'm correct, which I am correct because I know most things about Uncharted. But this relationship, I think, just solidifies Uncharted for me as one of the best franchises. Not only this relationship, there's so many other friendships within that game to build, but I just think the friendship he has with this mentor character, I just think he's done so well and carries through all the games. And just the moment at the end of 3 where, he thinks Sully is dead. Spoiler alert for Uncharted 3, but if you haven't played it by now, you deserve to be spoiled.
If you don't know me by now, you will never, ever, ever know me.
So it's just one of those friendships throughout games that I want another Uncharted, game. I'm happy to have just Sully. I love the man, and I love their relationship throughout this whole game. You don't see him as much in Uncharted 4, but every time he's back there, it just feels like family.
Now, Unky, if you had the chance in the next Uncharted film to play either Nathan Drake or Sally, which would you pick?
For me to play, I'm playing
Yep.
Nathan Drake every day of the week.
Very good. Sorry, I've totally derailed us. Billy.
No, said it pretty well, Unky. I'm just mindful of watching the clock for myself. So
holy bejesus.
That's right. We'll run through them. Standoff number 2, friendship. We
number
have
2 on screen.
Ratchet, and where would he be without his clank? Even again from day one, he can't glide, he can't fight. This little dude's had his back since Ratchet and Clank 1, and I don't know if anyone else can speak to Ratchet and Clank, but this guy, even when he's solo, you just wish he was back with his big furry friend.
My favourite thing about these two is their entendre names. I think they're wonderful.
They are.
Number 3.
Number 3, we have another one of my favourites, a little bit different one, a bit of a one that's probably not up most people's alley for friendships, but I really love the Alan Wake and Barry, I can't remember his surname, from the Alan Wake game. Barry's always by his side. I think he's his publisher, but also his friend, and he rocks up in dire times within the game and actually helps Alan at one point, even though he's more excited about finding Alan Wake's cardboard cutout and making sure that thing was okay. That just shows how much he loves Alan Wake, that he's willing to protect his life just for that cutout, even though he's got the real life Alan Wake standing there right with him. But Big Barry, I love him. He's popping flares for you, even though he falls down a mountain. Somehow that big oaf somehow survives, mainly on the back of trying to save his friend Alan.
I love it. Friends to the end. Ride or die, as they say. Who's number 4, riding and dying?
Speaking of riding, we have Mario and Yoshi. Mario does enjoy the old ride of the old Yoshi. He's been doing it since he was a baby. They've formed that friendship up until this day. Current games still see Mario and Yoshi banding together to defeat the forces of evil. Bully, you want to say anything about Mr. Mario and Yoshi?
Oh, no, the classic combo. Absolutely classic. It's like Big Mac and fries. Classic combo. Everybody loves it. You can try something else, but you'll always go back to the classics.
Indeed you will. I love me some Yoshi action. Here's a quick trivia question for you, Bully. What was the first game to include Mario riding Yoshi?
I was going to say Mario World on the SNES, but there might have been some obscure other game that might have come before that.
Well, I've got no idea, so I'm just going to declare you the sub-winner to the side pot this evening. All right. Standoff entry 5.
Number 5, we have Master Cheeks and Cortana. Another one of those ones that, you can't have one without the other. Master Chief, solidifies his relationship with Cortana throughout all those games, and obviously becomes one of the main parts of the story where, even when he thinks he's going to lose her, he's going to do absolutely everything he can to stop her, going into rampancy and losing her. And it's not until Halo Infinite where, Cortana is finally gone, but he does get the weapon, and obviously voiced by the same voice actor, and it's his new Cortana that he can latch onto. But that sort of turned almost from a friendship into a weird cyber love relationship thing, which, sort of solidifies their relationship as being slightly more than friends. But I don't know how you're going to bang a hologram.
Well, with the PSVR 2, no, entrant number 6 this week.
Entrant number 6, Ellie and Last of Us, they're still on this list. We couldn't go Ellie and Joel. For me, Ellie and Joel's more a father-daughter relationship, whereas Ellie and Riley, yes, it does become romantic towards the end of that thing, but their whole thing is about friendship. Riley puts on that whole thing, as we've seen in the TV show and in the game, has this whole thing. She's going to leave and just takes Ellie to this abandoned mall and just, creates all the special moments for Ellie, just as a good friend would. She narrates, it's Mortal Kombat, obviously, in the show, but in the game, the machines don't actually work, and she narrates the whole part of Ellie playing this game, and you've got to hit the buttons. That was one of the most defining moments, I think, in the game. It was such a special moment, done so well for something so different. I've never seen it done in the game before, where they, let you play this game, but it's just someone telling you how to play it. I just think those moments, the photo booth moment, I think just the way they built that friendship in such a small amount of content to show, these characters that, you've only met for a few hours, you play the game, but you can tell their bond is tight.
Indeed you can. Lovely summary, mate. Great work. Number 7. Oh, Bully, do you want to take the biscuits on this one?
Do it, Bully.
Oh, Oh, the greatest riding combo of all time. I take back my initial comment of the Big Mac and fries being the original combo. If you're going to get on and ride something, you want to be riding Roach as Geralt. That is the classic modern combo, we'll say. That's the quarter pounder and fries.
The supersized, if you will.
Yeah, well, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's Blood and Wine or something where Geralt actually goes on a trip and you have a conversation with Roach as well.
Yeah, that checks out, mate. Yep.
Yeah, so what a lad Roach is. I mean, you got a lot of friends in The Witcher as Geralt, but yeah, no more than his horse Roach. Even though he calls all his horses Roach, yeah, that's shows how much his bond is to that name and that horse. Because yeah, no matter how many times that dies, he's replacing it with another one.
Lovely work.
What is that fish?
To the audio listeners at home, you're missing out on a treat. Go back and watch the YouTube version.
That is not the footage that I uploaded.
No, it isn't. There was an error, and I need to talk to you about your uploading in future. All right, Standoff entry 8.
Mate, is Max Payne and his painkillers. He makes a lot of friends, but no more so than his painkillers. They have been with him since game one. They're with him when he's down. They're with him when he's up. You might argue they make him go up. But no, where would Max Payne be without these bad boys? They're always by his side. They're always in his pocket. They're always close by. And if they're not, he's shooting a lot of damn guys to get to them.
He wouldn't be riding, he would be dying without his painkillers. Max Payne, you can't have one without the other. I absolutely love it. And a shout out to this video because it is a compilation of every witty bit of banter he says as he picks up a new bottle. It is so worth going back. I don't remember off the top of my head now. I'm going to say it's a 12-minute clip, and it's just back-to-back him saying hilarious things before picking up a pack of painkillers. It's one of the funniest clips ever. Once again, you should be watching us on YouTube if you're listening to us on the podcast service.
This clip was fine. I gave you this one.
You did, mate. It was perfect. All right, number 9. Who's the entrant?
Number 9. Oh, give me a sec. I've lost my doco.
Cyberpunk.
We have V and Johnny Silverhand. You might argue, depending on the way you play this game, V may or may not be more friendly or whatnot towards you. But in my game, we were good mates.
We were best of buds.
Yeah, and he was like, obviously he was Keanu Reeves. You can't go wrong. He's breathtaking as the meme goes. But I really enjoyed their story and their arc. And obviously for someone that's in your head who's someone that's technically dead, I just think they actually nailed that whole thing. I haven't seen a character or AI, apart from Cortana, done this well when it comes to speaking to an AI character essentially that's in your head. I think they just nailed that relationship throughout the whole game, even though the game sort of received a lot of criticism. I think that's one thing they actually did really well in the game.
And a shout out to them for having a companion who would give you hints, but he never gave you the hints too early.
Yes, which has been a fair bit of that in recent times.
Recent times. They need to take a leaf out of Cyberpunk's book. All right, the 10th and final entry, Unky Dunky. Now, this one has a special place in my heart, sir.
Me too. The birth of the Unky Dunky himself, Leo and Vincent. And Troy, I might need to take over from me because I'm choking on my drink.
I shall. As you can see here, this is the moment as the basketball game is proposed. We can see Unky Dunky's son there in his... Well, he's actually my son, actually, the way this works out.
Your
my
son
there in his lovely green shorts. We're about to play some basketball. And it's this very court I left Unky Dunky on to amuse my son while I just slipped off quietly back into the trailer to entertain the missus for a few minutes.
That's right. G.E.A. can probably speak to the chat. I did show him this video the other day because I had to show him the birth of Unky Dunky. And it was just as funny watching it back now as it was on the night when I was in the first piece of the wind playing this thing with you and just dunking on him. And good old Uncle Dunketh was just going ham on this kid. But this relationship throughout this whole game is just built on, just these moments you have. It's not only the characters having the game, but you have playing with your co-op partner, especially when you're dunking on some little kid in green shorts. But no, from the rest, I love this game and just from the prison escape to all the other stuff, the river rafting. But I don't really want to spoil the ending. But
well, without spoiling the ending, but shout out, what's the game director's name? I'm blanking right now. The French bloke. He's amazing because he did.
I feel like you ask me this every.
I do ask you this every time because this dude is one of the best game creators. He's up there in my mind with Kojima, Kojima and Ken Levine and this bloke who I'm blanking on his goddamn name. But what did he do? He did A Way Out. He's done 3 of them. A Way Out, the one with the vacuum cleaner where you rip the eyeballs out.
It Takes Two.
It Takes Two. And what was the first one he did? Because there was one before.
Two brothers, or whatever it's called. Brothers?
Joseph Ferris.
Joseph Ferris, a shout out to you, sir. You are up there in great company. You're right up there in the top 5, I would say, of all time best game creators. And of course, you gave birth to Unky Dunky.
You did. So, Troy, this one gets a special place because it's not only the friendship between Leo and Vincent, it was the friendship between you and I that was really solidified during playing this game.
I would argue the Gaming Enforcement Agency wouldn't exist if this game didn't exist in this relationship. It is the birth of something special, and my chips this week are fully and entirely locked in on Standoff Entry 10, Leo and Vincent from A Way Out. Unky, where are you putting your chips this evening?
Yeah, my heart says that as well. I mean, the viewers probably don't even know who these people are, and that's tusk on them because, you know, this relationship in this game is just built, you know, it's perfect up until...
Look at me walking off with my missus, and what are you doing? Dunking on a 7-year-old.
Dunking on a 7-year-old. Feel free, go back. I think it's A Way Out, episode 4, I believe, of the Let's Play. About halfway through, I think it is around there, if you want to check out the birth of Unky Dunky. But I know Bully's probably not going to go with that one. Bully, which one are you leaning towards for your best friendship in video games?
I was going to say, I don't think that there's any way that I'm going to get The Witcher up again. So we'll move away from that one.
You've got a better chance of getting Drake and Sully for me to flip. That's about the only one that could flip.
And the only other one you could flip me on is Max Payne.
Oh, well, then we're split 3 ways then. I was going to go with the original. I was going to go with the original pairing, the best and the original Mario and Yoshi, the most iconic out of those pairings.
Oh, this just means we've got a good standoff. You're welcome. When it's this
great work, Unky.
I'm going to go with my heart and say the friendship between Leo and Vincent, Troy and Steve, Unky Dunky, and the Green Short Boy. I reckon we got to give it to them.
I think we have to as well. This week, Joseph Ferris, a winner is you. Thank you very much for creating some of the best games I've ever played and giving Unky Dunky his very nickname. Fantastic work, fellas. What a fantastic standoff it's been. And that, of course, brings us over to segment 4. Bully, what has been happening in that there YouTube chat, my friend?
Well, it's been me and Tigaro having a bit of a heart-to-heart in that chat for most of it, because I think us jumping a bit early might have thrown some of the usual participants out. So I think I've covered most of what he said, although he does have his own nomination for the standoff with Leon and Claire in Resi 2. Of course, he had to get a Resi game in there.
Fair enough.
It's, they've never met before. Then 24 hours later, they have saved a city, adopted a child, and started talking about a puppy and a parrot.
He didn't want to go with Resi 8 and the giant woman. What was her name?
Dimitrescu.
Dimitri.
Oh, I can't wait to get up to her in VR either.
Oh, hello. All right, boys, we're going to wrap this show up. I've got some business to take care of.
Talk about eye tracking.
I'll make sure I've turned off the sharing of stats with the developers for that one. All right, guys, I declare us to now be off duty for episode 65. We made it.
Bam.
Unky Dunky, thank you for joining us for the last time in the second slot for the Gaming Enforcement Agency.
Oh, no, the amount of times Billy mutes himself, I think he's relegated himself to 3 for a few weeks more.
I'd tell you, the only way I'm allowing you to be in that second slot next week is if you're holding your own set of one of these. You've got to have the PSVR 2 to maintain that second slot at this stage, I think. But, as we said, that's one of the best standoffs we've ever had, and it's brought to us each and every week by your good self, Steve. Great work, mate. Thank you so much for producing.
All good, mate. Anytime.
And Bully, sir, thank you very much for your help, as always. Great work all week in the video land. Sorry, I dropped a couple of them a bit quicker than you were expecting.
No, that's all good. Look, I'm not going to upset Unky. He can keep his second slot and sit there and look pretty, and I'll just... I'll just keep on my 4 screens, unable to unmute myself, and keeping everything going in the background. So that's you just sit there and sip on your vodka. Thank you.
Perfect work. Well, as it's me for the last time, episode 65. Like it, subscribe it, you'll never miss it.